All right. Welcome back. What is going on, everybody? I hope that we're all having a fantastic morning here. My gosh. How are we doing? Feels like it's been forever. Okay, let's go ahead and turn on the big screen here. One second here. Getting some settings switched up. There we go. Okay. All set and good to go. Perfect. I swear you do all the tests in the world and then you get there and everything's messed up. Have you guys been liking this move lately with the overall market and the SPY? I missed a few really fun trading days. My gosh. I don't think it could get more fun than what I missed, actually. I was watching SPY explode on my phone like, God dang it, I wish I was there. That was a big gap down, though, on Friday into this week. Of course, no trading on Monday, which was helpful, but we're all the way now into Thursday, and yesterday we had that massive explosion with the SPY. That was an insane move with SPY, up to 688 plus. Now we're actually breaking above 690, which was the next major resistance that was actually on the radar. So now we're breaking right through 690 like nothing, running to the upside. Keep your eyes now on 691.30. This is the next big resistance that I've been watching for here in the short term. And also, if we hit 691.30, it's going to fill this massive gap down on the chart. And filling that gap down is going to be pretty critical. So just keep watching for that. It would be really good to fill that gap down. There goes SNDK. That has been the stock of the century here this past week. Today, though, it is dying off. It might have even just halted. Fell under 500. Oh, no, it did not halt yet. Fell under 500, though. It was a massive dip, though, by SNDK. The stock's getting so volatile that whenever it does drop, people are going to start freaking out, but we have to realize that it's just a high volatility environment. This is something that happens sometimes. High volatility means that there'll be big moves in both directions. During some of the most volatile downtrends that I've ever seen, there's been some of the biggest green days mixed in. Same thing to the upside. You know, you see some great upside moves and lots of red gets mixed in too. Willard, Tesla filled the gap up and you're looking for it to die off. Tessie. Yesterday filled the gap up. Oh, it did, yeah. Pretty perfectly, too. It got a little higher, but yeah, pretty perfect. On that gap fill and resistance touch. Love to see that. Tansy Man had fun. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. I bet they changed from Taco Tuesday to Taco Every Day. Taco Day. I know everyone's talking about the taco trade. It's pretty insane out there how much hype has been getting behind this. People have talked about it for a while, though. For those of you that don't know, Taco, Trump always chickens out. I remember you guys had to tell me that a while ago. It was funny. Wasn't PGS earnings this morning? PGS. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I don't know, Raphael. I'm mainly just looking at Intel earnings tonight. I actually have the earnings right here. Oh, you mean PG. Oh, you mean Procter & Gamble. I see what you mean now. PGs. Now I get it. Yeah, PG did do pretty good, up to 150 just about. The earnings seemed mixed on the movement at first, but they did come back up and touch 150 well. We can see here Intel reports earnings tonight. Let's go ahead and do a poll. I want to do a poll on Intel. Intel has been extremely explosive lately. We can see, especially the past few trading days, it has really rocketed up to 54 plus. We're going to do a poll. Will Intel keep ripping up after earnings, or will it die back off? Regardless of how the earnings go. Remember, we're talking about stock movement, not how the earnings go. You could always say that you think Intel will fall even if earnings were good. So keep that in mind. All right, there's three options here. It can either go up, it can go down, or it can chop around or stay around the same. Which way do you guys think it's going to be going? Will Intel move up on earnings, or will they not? It's the big report of the week, one of the bigger tech stock reports in the shorter term as well. Everybody's been keeping their eyes on the big chip stocks, of course. Nvidia has been a key player, of course, over the past few years, but in the shorter term, SNDK, AMD, those two have been pretty hot as well. Intel, though, has been an outlier that is going to be reporting. Hopefully, the new CEO, Lip-Bu Tan, sees a good report here and can maybe help in the earnings conference call. Jobs came in at 200K versus 209K expected. Yep. Looking at the weekly initial jobless claims. That's what you're looking at, right, Jake? We can't forget to look at SNDK again on the daily. Pulling back a bit. How about Micron, MU? Pull back as well. They've been another chip stock that, kind of like SNDK, hasn't really had the hype of the others over the past year to 2 years, but it is starting to see it now. Just wanted to apologize to everybody really quick for being gone for the past few days. I was only supposed to be gone 1 day, but I kept running into really bad complications with multiple different things. I guess with all the complications, I'm lucky to be here today, even. But good thing we have backup computers and things like that. Nice backup computers at that, I'll say. All the CEOs need to take a page out of Elon's playbook and throw a new shiny toy for everyone to think about and forget about anything that is negative about earnings. Throw a new shiny toy for everybody. I know, it's easy for Elon to do, but... It's easy for them, but imagine like Intel coming out with something random like a robot. That would be kind of funny. We're supposed to get like a foot of snow here this weekend. I don't know if you guys knew that. Of course, you guys aren't like right around me, but you get the point. Snowpocalypse, yeah. It's crazy. They're calling for like a foot of snow where I am. I can't believe it. KTOS ideas. Where the local bottom might be. Let's see. Kratos. Defense. And security. Huge pullback there. 113.80, 114 coming up. Big support in the short term. Yep, that's what it is, Outlaw. It must be the same storm. It must like extend all the way down to you. Calling for 2 feet. Wow, Wes. Now that's a lot. KTOS is really straddling this support from yesterday. This is a big level here. It is starting to sell down, though. Past 2 days have not been friendly for KTOS at all. Lockheed Martin has been faring a lot better. How about Northrop? NOC? Oh, yeah. Beautiful run up to 670. Oh, it does? Tangy says it covers most of North America. Now I need to get on the radar and see this. Gosh, what is up with these high winds like in Chicago? Don't they call it the Windy City? Isn't that the case? You have a skiing weekend planned. Now that's how you have fun in the snow. I'll be unpacking from the move. Again, apologies to you guys for the past few trading days. Been moving like crazy. Back to the SPY. Little pullback there from open. Got close to resistance. Just keep your eyes on that trend line and that gap. That trend line is huge here on the SPY. Multiple touches on the way up. It was pretty consistent, and it also gapped down right under it, which is a good sign. Mr. James, definitely staying home. Oh my gosh. Willard, I actually had to get a second truck. I had to get a second moving truck. It was wild. Boeing pulling back after ripping this morning. They were one that I was watching there early on the watch list, but give me 1 second, guys. 1 sec here. I'm just trying to do something, and I don't want it to mess anything up. I'm trying to get up the, do an update here really quick on something. What's up with all the wind, Mr. James says. What stocks are you guys watching the most at this exact moment here? There we go. Okay. All right, all good, all good. And SPY, ever since you started really ripping this morning, you pulled back hard. That is a big trend line and gap that you're trying to fill. I'm not too surprised to see some pullback coming through off of that gap fill. I still think that there could be some room to officially fill the gap, but I mean, it came pretty damn close at this point. Technically, the real gap fill would hit around 691.30, but I mean, it got really close today, getting to 690.60, 690.70. See if it can try to bounce off of this small intraday support. It seems like the pullback, though, is fairly strong for right now. You like RR, Elf, QQQ, SNDK, Apple? Yeah, everybody's on SNDK right now. How wild the price action's been. Very volatile stock, downtrending pretty hard this morning. I think from this point where it started chopping, it's going to be a bit hard to make an overall decision here. It's really hard to go against the downtrend, though, considering just how strong it's been today. You like RR as well? Rich Tech Robotics was definitely hotter this morning. Started selling off a bit. RR has been one of the more fun stocks over the past few months. Bounced off of a huge trend line on the daily chart. We've been watching that one quite a bit lately. How's the Mag 7? Let me pull that up real quick. Mag 7's looking pretty decent here. Not the best from open, but most are green today. Even though they're down from open, Meta's the real outlier, up 3.1%, 3.3%, jumping around a bit, but 3% plus at the moment, even with the pullback. Everything else is green, though, so we're all nice and green on the day. It's just from open, though, everything's weak. One sec, guys. I'm going to fix this Mag 7 setup here. It's a little bit messed up. Different screens and stuff like that going on. There we go. Tangyman said silver is not weak, though. SLV and GLD keeping it going again. Silver's never weak, Tangyman. Silver's always getting crazy out there. Pretty good bounce, though. I like the way it's starting to bounce off the gap up. That's a good move for today. A lot of times in pre-market, you'll see a gap up like this, and you will see this exact setup happen a lot, where gaps up, consolidates a bit, and then starts to rip back. Very strong. Like a bull, Tansy says. You mess with the bull, you get the horns, is what they say. That's what the shorts are feeling right now on silver. All those big institutions are getting screwed. We're starting to have the Wall Street bets people push this thing up. Getting crazy out there. Go to GLD as well. Nice and consistent. We are back, Mason. Yes, sir. Beautiful price action this morning, though, with silver and GLD, but the SPY, not so much. But we are starting to bounce right off of our support, which is nice. It's trying to hold, but I don't know. I wouldn't bank on it with that opening move. That's a pretty rough initial drop here. We're about 26 minutes into open. See nothing but bearishness so far. Except for the first couple candles. Nvidia's pulling back very hard. Four minutes till the PCE comes out. Yes, sir. We're going to see SPY and GLD and SLV probably go nuts off this. The core PCE is really what the Federal Reserve watches for to have a good inflation gauge. Now, I got to say this, though, guys. Just be a bit wary. We're actually going to be looking at PCE data from October and November. So it's a bit strange. It's not like your normal PCE report for December or January. It's a bit delayed right now because of what's been going on. So I've been seeing some people say that this isn't going to be something overly looked at in that case, or let's just say since it's delayed, it might not be as important. But either way, it's going to give us a good indication on how that inflation's looking. And like I said, it's for October and November, so it's a bit strange. Here, I'll show you guys it right now on Trading Economics. Note right here how it says October, November. We should be getting December's, but again, things are delayed right now. B2 Gold got over 5. BTG, Tangi says. Was over 5 yesterday, technically, but holding above it today pretty well. Looking at BTG, I wouldn't be surprised if it tried to fill that gap up next few trading days. ETA 2 minutes on the PCE now. Just keep your eyes on the SPY here while we watch this release come out. We'll pull up Mag 7, see how that looks on the release. The more the merrier, right, Tangi? Unless you're a put player, but you're seeing inflation creeping up now, Coconut says. It was tame last year. You think so? Looking at some increases here. Netflix just taking the beating. All right, here we go. Release has come out. Should be getting the update any second, but SPY is moving lower. At least as of now, not much, not much. Personal income, 0.3% versus 0.4% expectations. Here it is. Core PCE stayed the same month over month for October and November, 0.2% on both. Looks like everything's pretty calm as of right now. Nothing too crazy on the data. It doesn't show inflation's really rocketing or anything like that. That doesn't mean that SPY's gonna rip, though. Everything's pretty much right around the same. Mason just threw up all the data there in the Discord. I love this trading economics here, how it shows the actual consensus forecast, all that good jazz. Go back to the SPY, still falling down, 687.50 breaking down. So far, a bit of a negative move. Not too much going on here. Nothing too crazy so far. It looks like yeah, nothing too bad. Looks like some of the forecasts over here were 0.1%, so it did come in at 0.2%. On some of these, a little higher than the forecast. The consensus, though, was right around 0.2%, so hard to say there on the month-over-month for November. Anyhow, it doesn't seem like anything too crazy, though. I feel like that this isn't really going to impact the SPY much here today. I think that if it was going to impact the SPY a lot, I think that we would be seeing a lot more volatile candles than what we saw. Honestly, the price action ever since the PCE data release has been very mute. I would say just kind of continuing the downtrend on the day. Nothing crazy. The candles aren't even larger than the candles that were coming in on the other sell-off earlier this morning. So I don't see anything overly crazy here with it. I think that the market continues on like normal, and you know, of course, people are going to try to point fingers at whatever they can, but I think that at the end of the day here, things are moving as normal, and, you know, we don't need to worry about too much movement from the PCE data specifically, it looks like. Yeah, Demure, I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking at myself. Demure just asked, is this going to be one of those slow sell-offs on the SPY? And, you know, it very well could be. Just a very slow, more of a red day. There will be some uptrend probably mixed in at some point, but I could see it again, you know, like you said, being more of a slow day down. Now, the one thing to watch for is this is a big zone of support for the SPY. SPY was moving here last night and is attempting to hold it as support. Not saying it's going to hold it all day, but in the ultra short term, maybe next 10, 20 minutes or so, maybe longer, but I am going to be watching for that to possibly hold. Mason said, I think the sell-off earlier was the sell-off because I didn't see any other news for that sell-off. Yeah. There really wasn't that much news for that sell-off earlier on. You know, there doesn't always have to be. It doesn't have to be attributed to news necessarily. The one thing that I think happened with the SPY with the sell-off is that I think that the SPY had such a good move down Friday and such a good past couple days on the recovery that it's prompted this really good move back up, right? We got such a great recovery, but right now we're just seeing volatility. So what I'm thinking is right now, the SPY is just very volatile. We're in this volatile environment. And whenever we see SPY make these major gap downs and then go up for a fill really quick, it's natural to see like hits off of resistance there. I think as a lot of these dip buyers who are buying down here start to take profits, you know, up around this zone. Not saying that, you know, that's perfect every time or anything, but it is interesting to watch those gaps being filled like that, especially like on SPY, where I feel like a lot of retail traders really eye that up, where I think a lot of the more seasoned traders don't really mind it too much. But retail investors are not biting at the Bitcoin pump. Yeah, more like they're eyeing the Bitcoin dump is what I would say. It seems pretty brutal on Bitcoin right now. I'm actually watching Bitcoin down. You know, it's been following this trend up over the past few weeks, and it's testing it kind of the past couple days, and I'm watching to see if we reject. And I've said this a lot on the live over the past few weeks, and it's holding up pretty well. You know, Bitcoin 100,000 is going to be a big level for it to get past. It's having a lot of trouble breaking past it, and it's again rejecting in the short term. So continue watching Bitcoin, possibly to the downside here. You know, I know a lot of people like to be bullish with it. I mean, I listen to the chart and what it's telling me, and of course look at sentiment and other things, and sentiment's not super high right now. So I feel like there's also a lot of people dumping Bitcoin and running towards gold and silver possibly, right? I think there's a lot of people who are maybe wishing that they would have rather bought gold and silver, right? We're starting to see that craziness come through with retail traders regarding gold and silver, and I think that that's actually hurting Bitcoin. You know, slight like rotation effect going through. Over the years, there's been a lot of people saying that Bitcoin was going to overtake gold as the safe haven asset, but it doesn't seem like that's really the case here. Rick said, today's secret word is sell-off. Ding, ding, ding. Congratulations. Love it, Rick. Manicured said, I went to an NFL playoff party. Everyone was talking about silver. The husband, the wifey, and the kids. I know, right? That's what's getting crazy about gold and silver. It's becoming like a household name. Now, it always kind of has been, you know, everybody knows gold and silver. But it is now taken a different effect. I would definitely put it in a different category now rather than what it was in. It's in that hype category. Like you said, the kids are even thinking about it. Gold used to be something that your grandpa hid below his dresser, and that was it. You know, it didn't used to be like as crazy as this, except for during like the gold rush and all that jazz back in the day. Maybe we'll get into that again. Who knows? This is the modern day gold rush, right? I know, Jake. That's what I always say. Whenever it starts to get this crazy, it's time to usually start to let go. We don't know exactly where the top's going to be, but I'm definitely thinking that that is something to think about and have in the back of your mind for sure. You know, strategize this. Maybe even have like a bit of a trailing stop. Like, I don't know how exactly you'd set it up. There could be a few different things that you do with gold and silver. Let's say that you are long silver right now. You know, let's just say that you own it randomly at, I'm just going to pick a random price. Let's just say randomly at like 65. And I'm not picking the best price. I'm just picking a random price on the X. You know, you're trading it up. You're in the profits here. If you set like a good trailing stop up that would just, you know, continue to follow the price here. You know, let's say from the current price. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be measuring these pullbacks here. So let's say this pullback is like a good 9%er. This one's going to be less, but it's like the same length. 7%. So like generally they're like around this long on the pullbacks. You know, we can see that there's been like 3 or 4 scenarios where we've essentially seen like the same type of pullback on the way up. Now, what you can do is you can simply, you know, continue to use this. Take it to the current price, throw it here, throw your trailing stop just under that. So now this way, at least you're locking in if it does turn over. If it doesn't turn over, then you continue up on the rally and you just continue to hold. You wouldn't really have a target because you would just be trailing it up. Now, as it moves up, you're going to continue, this will keep moving. So, you know, it'll go up. And if it does get another pop, now your stop's going to be like 88.50. So you see how this will work with the trailing stop if that's how it was going to play out. But that's how I would set it up if I was looking to take profits up here. I don't know that I would generally just like run and lock it all in right now, but I hope that that gave some people some ideas maybe who are long silver at the moment, you know. And again, I like to really measure those pullbacks because as we can tell, like the pullbacks on the way up they've been pretty consistently the same, you know. I mean, at least the same like amount of pullback, you know, essentially 3 down days in a row and then followed by good uptrend is essentially what has taken hold. All right, guys, quick intermission. I'm going to go grab a quick drink really fast. Glad to be back on the live, though. Thanks for everyone for sticking around this morning. Looking at Mag 7. SPY's trying to form a base. Tesla's starting to pop back a bit, which is nice, but all right, give me just a moment. All right, we are back. Sorry about that, guys. SPY popping off. Popping back up a bit anyways from 687, starting to come back. Tesla's moving. Like to see it. Microsoft's forming a solid base. Seeing some pretty good movement here and good price action. Don't forget to vote up in the poll. 62 votes. It's all right, Tangy man. My daughter actually had an accident. Or Rick, I mean. I just used the drink as an excuse. I'm adding that to my book. You know, Aioli, not every day. Not every day. I would say probably on average, probably 4 times a week, I would say probably. Usually like 1 to 2 longer term trades. 2+ day trades. Of course, it depends on the week, you know. If there's like a really good opportunity, then that's where I really like to look at day trades. I like to really snipe them a lot more. I know a lot of people like to get a bit crazy, you know, trading, let's say 20 times a day plus, things like that. Maybe 10 a day, maybe 6 a day, 7, somewhere like that even. But yeah, I'm definitely more of a slower trader. I used to have a big problem, Aioli, with over trading. See, so that used to be a big deal of mine that I've had to mitigate over the years and learn, we'll say, the hard way not to overtrade like that. I'm glad I missed it, Coconut. Is somebody making some or something? Because that would be cool. Beyond Yorkshire said, time to sell gold and invest in stocks. Yeah, you know, that could be a good option. Now, I'm not saying to like go in and run in and buy stocks at crazy levels or crazy valuations, but you know, there could be opportunity there. And let's say rotating out of some gold and silver and getting into some other opportunities. Doesn't necessarily mean like I'm talking the S&P specifically or anything, but you know, let's say that you're patient, you wait for another opportunity to arise, right? That's really the big thing. Like, where are those opportunities going to come in at, right? Nobody knows, right? What are some of the ones recently? ZOM and Oxy. ZOM, Oxy, the oil stocks, they've been explosive lately with all this Venezuela action, right? It's created a really good opportunity. That's the same thing, you know, we can wait going forward. Once you start to find another sector that is seeing that same opportunity, same hype, same momentum, that's where you can start to take advantage and, you know, jump into those trades there. Mason said SPY pullback. I saw that. Right before I switched off Mag 7, SPY started pulling back down again. Looking kind of rough. Now, this is where we could see that slow chop on the day continue. It is testing the trend as of now, but it could break. It could break. When I say the trend, I mean a very small intraday trend from the low of day today. Following that line up pretty consistently. If we start to see that break, that might be your indication of shorting. Looking at the news, just seeing if there is anything. SPY did hold that trend pretty well coming up so far. Eyeing up the stock labs real fast. All the guys on Twitter or X. Nothing crazy there. How's crude oil looking? Let's look at it on the daily. Okay, it never really broke that peak of last week yet, but that's what's going to be on watch for sure. Tom, do you have any thoughts on the ELF for the long-term play calls? ELF? ELF Beauty coming back alive here a bit after that big dip down. I'm not a big fan of these like beauty stocks and makeup / cosmetic stocks, things like this. It's just not my forte. I don't know enough about the industry, honestly. I know that things like ELF can trend really well though. And like looking at it from a charting perspective, I mean, it looks pretty good. I would not be surprised if it continued up for a little while longer. I would be pretty worried as it got towards like 98.50 to 100 on the chart. That's where I would start to worry about a possible pullback coming into play, especially as if it starts to fill the gap up to like 115. I think that could be very interesting. But when I look at ELF itself, I'm not like a big like I'm not huge on these stocks. I feel like that they don't really trend well, and you know, they will have solid uptrends, don't get me wrong, but when I say they don't trend well, like notice how here, like, you know, we've been moving down now for 2 years straight. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where I'm getting at. Like and maybe on Celsius, recent gap fill. Now, Celsius is something I do look at a lot more. I look at it way more often. And whenever I look at Celsius, you know, again, it has been down for 2 years, but I would say it has pretty interesting price action. It's also more of a sector that I'm into. But when I look at Celsius here, I love the way it filled the gap. I'm definitely worried about a possible pullback. And what I would look for is if there is a pullback, that could be your entry point. And if we look at a trend here, we look at the trend of higher lows, you know, if it does hold the trend, which it doesn't have to, you know, your buy point might be somewhere around 50, maybe 52. So a little bit off from where we are now. It looks like it is filling the gap though, and I would not be surprised if it did start to pull back off of the gap fill. But keep in mind that every time a gap fills, it doesn't mean that the stock has to reverse right away. That was kind of evident right here, of course. The stock filled this gap, but then also kept going for like 2 more weeks before ultimately returning. It didn't break down by much, but it did. ELF used to be the shitty brand. Did it? What were those popular things? Whenever I was in high school, all the girls had these like color palette things. I don't even know what they were. It was like a color palette, and it had like, it was like a certain brand that they all had. It was like the same exact brand. I don't know why, but It might have been Elf, which is making me wonder. Of course, that was before Elf was probably even not tradable. Yeah, it was before they were tradable. Alta. Ah, that I think that might be it. It might be it. Alta's been doing a lot better. Way better. Well, maybe not percentage-wise, but definitely consistency-wise. Ultra. I'm just kidding, Mason. He says Alta closed by me. Oh, wow. Burry bought Alta. Oh, wow. I didn't remember that one. Although I go through so much news, it's it's tough to remember with how much I go through. It was right next to Golf Galaxy. There we go. More parking room. All right. Alta really has been hot, though. That is one hell of a rip. There's a few gaps to fill on the Alta chart. I don't know if it's going to ever fill these ones, though. Of course, not all gaps fill, and sometimes they get left wide open. Here's one right here that got left wide open. From like 3 years ago, too. I swear, someone in like 3 years, if Alta crashes, someone's gonna come back and be like, Tom, see, it filled the gap. I'll be like, oh, okay. Okay, let's see how good those shorts were holding over that time. Good poll, though, today. 67 votes. We'll take that for the first poll being back here. Will Intel keep ripping up after earnings, or will it die back off? Keep ripping is the leading answer here at 43%. Sorry, guys, I bumped the mic. Elf is based out of Oakland, California, which is local to you. Oh, interesting, Steve. I didn't know that. Oakland. Is that where the Oakland A's play? Well, played. Some ALC predictions, Raphael says. Alcon. I like it up here. I'm a big fan of it moving up, Raphael. I like the way that it's moved higher. I like the quick test of highs. I think that ALC could end up going for a bit more of a run here in the short term. There's no telling how much it's going to rip past this resistance, but I could see 8250 breaking out here over the next few days. Outlaw. I had Intel for years and it did nothing. Look at it now. I know, right? Intel's been wild. I'd won like 3 times on Intel on pretty good trades too in this lower zone. Yeah, like down here. If you zoom out, Intel was very interesting in like 2019, 2020, as it was bouncing, but in this lower zone, there were some really good opportunities playing Intel off of this dip. I mean, there were a lot of good buying opportunities down here. It was like, you know, one good winner, another good winner, and then, you know, like a third good winner. Like, it was amazing with Intel down there. I loved it. I had one decent L down there too, so wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but a Bay Area stocked up live club would be sick. I don't know about the Bay Area though. That's what gets us. Too much taxes over there, man. It'd probably happen in like Miami or something. Maybe good old Texas. The waste management is coming up, Tom. Brooks Koepka's coming up too. Let's go, Mason. Brooksy, first tournament back. He was my favorite golfer. Although I didn't follow Liv very close, but I still liked watching him in the majors. When is that coming up? Is it this weekend? Oh, no, this weekend is the, or next weekend is the Farmers Insurance Open, and then the Phoenix Open. The Phoenix Open is the one you're talking about, right? Yep, the Phoenix. That's pretty cool. Yeah, he did sacrifice a lot of money. That was crazy. He gets to stay in the US now all he wants. He's got so much, though, he probably doesn't care at that point. Yeah, they don't have to play all those Dubai tournaments now. Hey, you played Legion against Bobby Koepka's father. That's pretty cool, Better. That is pretty cool. I used to play Legion as well. Legion used to be like one of the big things around me. In these little rural areas. The odds are more favored for a hole-in-one. It happens a lot, Mason, on the Pro Tour. I mean, I feel like every weekend there's one, man. AMD's on fire, Outlaw says. I actually got to play 1 year extra better. They let me play on that Legion 1 year after high school, which was interesting. Yeah. And it's not just like normal guys shooting at it either, Mason. It's the pros. They're all throwing darts at it. Palantir, kind of boring today. Not really moving as much as I would have thought with the rest of the Mag 7. I guess the rest is pretty boring as well. These rare earth stocks like USA Rare Earths, USAR, and CRML Critical Metals are really on fire today. Those two stocks are kind of catching me off guard. Sorry, guys. Had to check on something really fast. Tom, have you heard of AREC? Let's see. AREC. American Resources Corp. I have before, yes. This definitely isn't the first time. I believe somebody mentioned it before on the live here. Not that I've researched it a lot or really looked into it a ton. But with AREC, it is a stock of momentum. Look at this stock. Whenever it starts to pop off, it really pops. This uptrend is strange following that crazy uptrend back in October. I'm assuming it was just moving with like the rare earths. Yeah, it was. There might be something with AREC, like they're one of the bigger miners of something or producers of something like that. That would actually be really cool, Coconut. I wish you would do that. He would love it. Yeah, CSP on USAR. Thinking about taking it. It's at the 70s. Oh, it's at 70%. Never mind. Ah. What price do you have it at? And what's the expiration, James? Let me know, because, I mean, I would think that you would get that extra 30% very easily. If you have, like, a certain strike, like the 16 or 17. If you build it right, a 3-hole golf course could actually be a 9 playable holes. Yes, it can, Tangy. Yes, it can. You just get a decently sized green and you throw, you know, 3 different flags on there. Label them for which one they are and go play the game. I actually like that a lot. You don't even need the different flags, really, but... I've seen a ton of people do that, like, on YouTube and stuff. It's kind of crazy, Tangy. Do you turf or real grass, though? Man, you know, if it's just one green, I mean, it might not be that bad to really maintain, man. You don't have to cut it every day, but you'd have to cut it like once every 3 or 4 days or something. And, you know, the cutter is hydraulic. Normally, they're hydraulically driven. I don't know if you're going to use one of those or not, but you have the chance of leaking fluid. Lots of things like that, but yeah, that's a we need to do an afternoon stream today called what is it, botulism, or no, there's like a word for like people that do that stuff. Forgot what. There's like a special school and certificate that you go for greenskeeping, and they have a certain name for it, but oh, every other day Tangy Man did it. I know you have to do it a lot. SPY, stuck at resistance here. Over the past 10 minutes or so, as we've talked about the golf course, it's been trying to still slowly recover, but is just slowly chopping around. Nothing too crazy. Of course, those mineral stocks are a lot more fun than the SPY and the S&P itself is, but Tesla's starting to pop. Look at that nice candle by Tessie. That's what we like. Some good price action here. Okay. Tesla's looking pretty hot here. It's not above resistance yet. It's about to touch resistance around 438, but it's looking awesome here. There's some great 2 1-minute candles in a row. Awesome PA. If you're out there looking for some momentum, here is Tesla for you. Let's check out Microsoft, because Tesla's going wild, but somebody asked me about Microsoft in the chat here. Microsoft, though, looks pretty interesting at 445. Falling down a ton on the daily chart. More major support I see is around 430 to 432. Intraday. Let's see the 5-minute here. Oh, wow. Yeah, there's pretty obvious resistance around 448 to 450. Is Musk at Davos? He's talking a lot. Uh-oh, I don't know. Is he actually there? That would be pretty interesting if so. I would doubt it, though. I do see, though, lots of Musk updates. Elon Musk says Tesla full self-driving software is so safe. That it's so safe that insurance companies are offering customers half-priced insurance. Whoa. That sounds like pretty big news. The self-driving software is so safe that insurance companies are offering half-priced insurance. I'm sure some are. I mean, you could probably say companies are offering anything, and one is out there maybe, but building AI solar data centers in space is a no-brainer, he says. Trump says he will be issuing tariff dividends if they win the Supreme Court case. That would be pretty sick to get a bunch of money from Trump. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Lots of Musk news, though, here. By the end of next year, we will be selling humanoid robots to the public. So by the end of 27, they'll be selling humanoid robots to the public. I don't know about that. That's going to end up being in 5 years, Mason. I'll bet money on it. 5 years for the robots. Is this good old Elon speaking right now?
And AI will help us with these things. So I'm just trying to understand, how do we get here? What's going on? What's real? Are there aliens? Maybe there are. And if we've got spaceships that are traveling to other star systems, we may encounter aliens, or we may find many long dead alien civilizations. But I just want to know what's going on. I'm curious about the universe, and that's my philosophy.
Do you see yourself ever going to Mars in your lifetime?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, like, I
That's a long commitment.
I've been asked.
Isn't that 3 years each way?
It's 6 months.
6 months, that's all it is?
Yeah, 6 months, but the planets only align every 2 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been asked a few times, like, do I want to die on Mars? And I'm like, yes, but just not on impact.
That's a good answer. Anyway, we're out of time. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this.
Oh, I turned it on at the very end.
I mean, there's so many myths around Elon Musk. I could tell you he's a great friend, and I constantly learn so much from him. And I'm totally inspired by what he has done. I've been inspired who he is, and I'm totally inspired by his vision of the future. And I don't think it's such a bad future. And I agree with his optimism. So, Elon, thank you. Any last words?
Well, I think my last words would be, I would encourage everyone to be optimistic and excited about the future.
Good.
And generally, I think for quality of life, it is actually better to err on the side of being an optimist and wrong rather than a pessimist and right.
On that note.
Okay, there we go. All right, we'll turn it on right at the end there. So, yeah, he was definitely live there speaking. That's why we got that flurry of statements coming through for him for the past 30 minutes or so. But yeah, Tesla was starting to rip there for a little while throughout that time, and yeah, very interesting movement there. 2 minutes of wasted time. Stand-up comedian. It's pretty funny. Yeah, Coconut said FSD is safer than humans. I know, and that's what sucks, Coconut. See, I love driving. I love cars, right? And it scares me that they're going to eventually ban human driving. And I swear I'm going to be so upset the day that they do that. I don't know how many years away that is. I'm probably going to be long gone when that happens. But either way, that's something I am scared of and something I'm thinking about that. Yeah, like Mason said, we won't be there, so. All Mason heard was there's aliens and he doesn't want to crash on Mars. Yeah. We turned it on right for the conspiracy portion of the of the stream. That's funny. Of course. Let's go ahead and end the poll today. Will Intel keep rising up after earnings, or will it die back off? I was kind of curious what you guys thought. Oh, I love it, Z. I love that movie. Ask Mason and Coconut and all them how many times I've mentioned the movie I, Robot in here. And you will laugh. I mean, it's been like, over the past 3 years, I've probably mentioned it 50 different live streams. It's pretty insane. Will Intel keep ripping up after earnings, or will it die? You guys voted for keep ripping. 43% of the vote. Die back off. At 43%. Or sorry, 32%. And then a chop around at 25%. So keep ripping, die back off, and chop around. Keep ripping wins the poll. Oh, I love it, 300Z. Yeah, definitely pretty terrifying. iRobot went bankrupt, Aioli said. They really did, too. IRBT did go bankrupt. iRobot, not the movie that we're talking about, of course, but the robotics company did go bankrupt. I really thank God that I did not hold this one. Back in the day, I had a vision, like in 2018, 2019, I had a vision that iRobot was going to be one of the biggest companies ever, making these humanoid robots, like, because you know how iRobot makes the Roomba, right? I was kind of thinking that, okay, you know, they're going to start making these humanoid robots like what people think, you know, they're going to make cleaning robots and things, and yeah, it turns out that was not the case. I know that there were some people out there thinking that, but I hope that they fared well if that's what they thought. I'm really glad that I Had shifted to safer stuff before that. People accepted the internet during the .com more than AI now. Both are life-changing. The internet doesn't seem as crazy. AI seems a bit more crazier. I think it is crazier, of course. At least crazier of a concept for people to latch onto. With the internet, you know, it's kind of like, okay, there's a tool. Here's the tool. Go use the tool. With AI, people start thinking like, okay, now something fishy's up, right? Most people don't understand how it goes, but do you think SLV has hit today's highs without moving any higher? I mean, I would doubt it. I would doubt it. It looks pretty hot right now. If I'm going to be honest, SLV looks pretty hot. It's moving up right to recent resistance. I would not be surprised if it tried to rip past the recent resistance. Kind of like if we go to right here. If we look right here on silver, note how there was big resistance. And as it got up to there again, it eventually broke out and kept going. And that's kind of what I'm looking for here. Once again, with SLV, it looks really solid in that way. Let's look at Meta. This is a big move with Meta, though. 638 to 640. Let's see that daily chart of Meta. META. Big jump in recovery. Yeah, it's going to be hard to really rip past that today. I think that they plan these technology leaps every 30 years or so, Coconut said. You got to get us used to it all, right? That's funny. All right, guys. Well, hey, I hope everyone's having a good morning here so far. It's Thursday. We're already around the end of the week here. I know it's been a wild week. We were off Monday. Of course, I had a lot of stuff going on with the move and everything like that. Still getting settled in there. So we have all that going on. Take care, Jake, Aoli, Steve, Coconut, Raphael, 300Z, the Tangy Man, Mason, Zach, Demure, Outlaw Star, of course, Losing Better, 86 Reefer. Don't loan your money against your house. I'm sorry I missed that comment earlier. Somehow I missed that one. That would have been the funniest comment of the day. It's probably better than your loan in the market, but just be careful there. Be careful. Make sure you know what you're doing if you do that. Steven. Manicured, Willard. VT, Pool Boy. Van World, Rick. Hey Rose, Meat Sack of Doom, Pool Boy Roy. You guys have some names. I'll tell you. Xavier, Suzuka, Arabuto, Weston Montgomery. Or just West Montgomery, I meant. Domo, Alexander, nice. Wolf Killer. Wolf Killer just broke 100K on their account. Whoa, let's go, guys. End of the stream dubs here for Wolf Killer. Breaking 100K on the account. That is badass. That's a cool one to break above, right? That's a fun one. I bet there's... I don't know how the majority would work out, but I would bet a lot of people on the stream wish that. So that is badass. Love it.
Very nice.
Oh my god, even PewDiePie woke up for this one. Wow. That's awesome, though. That great stuff. Dubs in the chat for that. That is a badass thing to hear there to end the stream, so. All right, guys. Have a great one. Talk to you later. Glad to hear those gains. See you tomorrow.